What's up, YouTube? How y'all doing today? Hope y'all having a good day today. So I'm here in Los Angeles, California, with my good friend Edzy. So yeah, just doing a little casual interview here. So just tell me a little bit about you. Like, what do you do for a living, so to speak? You're into multiple different things.
Yes, I am. So I mostly identify. Hi, I'm Edzy. I mostly identify as a multidisciplinary artist, community organizer, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, like the range of my art practice is everywhere from like writing, poetry, social theory, to like performance art, visual, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
So you were telling me about a little bit about this one sort of piece you were sort of working on about like conspiracy theories and things of that nature. Like, can you tell me a little bit about that? Like,
well, it wasn't necessarily a piece, but that would be a really good idea. It was just an online post that I made about the trans agenda. So as some of you probably know, it's Trans-awareness week, and I think, you know, with that, at the end of the week usually comes Trans Day of Remembrance, also known as Trans Day of Resilience. Also, to more radical people, might be known as Trans Day of Vengeance. Yeah, part of other things that I also am involved in is radical political education and workshops on like consent and colonization. But basically, what I was talking to you about a little bit was how I think that it's really important for cisgender people to start having like more in-depth conversations about how they might be complicit in some of the harms that trans people, specifically trans women, might experience on the daily.
yeah,
So
that's an important topic.
yeah, I think like, you know, there's a lot of conversation about like the trans agenda.
They're
that
trying
like
to take over the world. What are you
we're
talking
trying.
about?
There's like, you know, there's a known book called The Transsexual Empire that like sent trans rights and trans liberation struggles back like decades, because they were trying to say that, you know, trans people, specifically trans women's bodies, in their attempts to look like real women was basically like the equivalent of sexual assault against cisgender women. And that's really wild and ridiculous, considering, you know, we're just out here trying to
live your truth, be your true self.
Trying to live, and like, you know, for people to assume that, yeah, I think what people don't understand is we're trying to live our truth, and we're not trying to necessarily live a lie, live the lies that like we've been fed are basically somebody else's truth. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that. Yeah, that one's kind of a touchy subject for me in a sense, because believe it or not, through my channel, I mean, I was surprised and amazed, but I've had a lot of people within the community saying stuff about, you know, trans women and trans men, attacking them. I'm like, what the hell? Because in a sense, you're attacking your own brothers and sisters, essentially. A lot of lesbian women I've had made comments similar to what you were just talking about, how, oh, there's actually one person in particular that started a YouTube channel saying that transgender women are the most sexist men.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and she attacked my channel and another YouTuber of mine, Jay Alva, not mine, another YouTuber, a friend of mine, Jay Alva. She was attacking both our channels, just spreading this garbage hate. And we went on her channel, and she has video after video attacking trans women, saying that basically what you were just talking about, how they're attacking cisgender women, this and that, and making fun of and
Right.
making mockery and making like mocking voices like, oh, they're trying to make transgender women sound like whiny individuals, and it just,
Yeah.
we made comments every single one, like, I know you're wrong on this, ABC, here's the facts, da 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 da, you know.
Yeah.
But
I think what people, especially me, like I'm an Afro-Indigenous Asian person. Historically, in our cultures, people who expanded the gender binaries, they've existed for hundreds and hundreds of years, pre-colonization, and it's really interesting if you take that into account, into the arguments of how gender might be, you know, a fact, that it's, you know, there's biological, like, research that says that there's only two genders, and we all know that's not real. We all know that intersex people actually exist.
Swire
we all
syndrome.
know that in nature there are different kinds of species that literally transform their sex from, and you know, they have that capacity to do that. So
isn't there like a frog in Africa that can do that?
yeah, there's certain fishes that have that capability. There's certain animals, like flowers, pollinate themselves. So, you know, it's really fascinating when people hold on to these constructs. It really says a lot more about the fact that they're not trying to see that information, the information that is there, the information that's, you know, present, and, you know, historically, at least, like, you know, I'm Filipina, and historically, in Babayan in the Philippines, indigenous Filipino people really revered transgender women. They call it bakala. Bakala is like historically a term in the Philippines. Well, now it's used as a derogative, but bakala means literally backwards is journey. It means like you know, journey, and
so
there's different people that have different cultures that made a really important, valuable space for people like myself, trans, two-spirit, gender non-conforming peoples who believe could bring insights to everyone else. Because, you know, we were historically rare people, we still are, but I think because of colonization, finding that indigenous people found these people so important, that is why, in my opinion, that's why there was a lot of demonization and stigmatization of our positions, of who we are.
I didn't really hear about that colonization. I'd have to look into that myself.
Yeah.
That's an interesting theory. Makes sense though, for real though. Like wondering, like, I mean, I just kind of thought that all the hate just originated from, you know, associating trans people with just simply being gay and whatnot, and of course with the church, you know,
Right.
Christianity, Catholicism,
And it is like historically that's true, but you know,
you said
I
it's
think
more
it's
direct,
important.
right?
Yeah, I think there's important aspects as to why, as to like the things that might have challenged colonial power, institutional power, and the things that like have actually led for people to have their prejudice and biases against queer, trans, black, indigenous people is often because these values were implemented through institutions and institutional power. So if you take like the courts and the police, like a lot of their fundamental initial agendas and their initial values, they still reverberate throughout a lot of our social lives, because you know you can't really legislate people's hatred away, and I think that's what me and like a lot of other community organizers, activists, artists are doing now. We're trying to confront the kind of legacy that lives within the kind of colonial cis heteropatriarchal norms. I'm saying a lot of large words. I swear I didn't go to college. I've just been doing this for a long time. Yeah.
Nah,
Everyone's like,
she got a PhD in some sort of history of some sort. Yeah,
I don't. Yeah, I teach at colleges, so if you want me to come to your college, book me. You know, and like that's another thing I really appreciate when people opportunities to speak their truth and to speak their realities based on their experiences and not necessarily on these kind of elitist, historically white supremacist credentials. Yeah, because like that's another misunderstanding of like, you know, white supremacy not necessarily meaning like fighting the Nazis, but like looking back to like, you know, like how the country was founded, looking to the indigenous peoples of these lands that still exist, myself included, that, you know, who survived our own kind of apocalypse to make space for people who weren't from these lands initially. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about like institutions that still exist, that you know, are still in a lot of ways harming people.
So that's a lot of information. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So how's the weather? No, I'm just kidding.
How's the weather? Up here, it's great. No.
All right. Well, cool. I mean, it sounds like you have a lot to offer people and the world based off your experiences in life and your own personal research. Like, people don't realize we're in the age of information. We're also in the age of misinformation. But if you do your research and you just have your wit about you when you're researching and reading up these articles and whatnot, I mean, you can learn a lot of true, not false facts, true facts. And I mean, it's kind of what's the word terminology? Kind of an oxymoron to say true fact, but it's kind of legitimate these days because there's so much false information out there and false narratives that it's a plague on society right now. But,
right. Yeah. And I think I really wanted to push the point of like, that there isn't necessarily a like trans agenda so much as it's a response to an initial agenda
against
against people like myself, and that you know, there were very much laws and specific order in place that criminalize, that still very much criminalize, like the world over.
Oh my God! Yeah, so
criminalize people like me, or criminalize, you know, and I believe that that's actually the reasoning behind why people hold biases against people. Like, I think if there weren't anti-cross-dressing laws or certain rules or whatever in place that said what I am is harmful or wrong or perverse, people wouldn't have these biases.
Actually, I have a friend of mine who actually, she was in transition through like the 80s in New Orleans when there were laws that said crimes against humanity. And she literally had to, she was a transgender woman, she'd be dressed as her true self, but she would literally have to wear a masculine, very manly, like men's watch. So that, because I think you had to have, I think she told me the rules, you had to have two articles. Yeah, 2 articles of men's clothing if you were born as a man or whatever.
Right.
You had to wear these 2 articles. I think she had a watch and maybe another wristband of some sort, but something very small, so that way she found a loophole in the laws. But yeah, she said it's crimes against humanity and the double standards and the hypocrisy. Paying your taxes, she would say. If you don't know about that, probably won't talk about it on this video, maybe another video. But yeah, there's a fucked up little thing called paying your taxes or your dues and whatnot as a transgender individual, particularly a transgender woman.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. All right. So where can everybody find you? What's your Instagram name?
I on Instagram I'm Betts You Revolt. That's BETTS Urevolt. Haven't spelled it in a long time.
She knows these big words, but can't really spell them. So. Maybe right.
Yeah, and like that's like it's my public, like those are all my socials. I'm also on
and
like
I'll drop a link
and,
down in the description below too.
Cool.
Is there any other links you'd like for me to share in the description?
No, I mean like yeah, I have all my my like link tree and how to support some of my work and stuff out there. I have a Patreon.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to that too.
Okay.
So we'll get y'all linked up in the description down below and hashtagged up or whatever, however all that works. I'm still learning all this, you know.
I really want to drive home the point of like, you take in everything that I say, even with a grain of salt, because like but do your research. I think political education is that sparks that critical thinking is probably the most important thing that people can do, especially right now where you have all of these challenges regarding people telling you, institutions and certain people in power telling us how to think and how to feel and how to be. And ultimately I think like people just want to be safer, and people people just want their autonomy.
Absolutely. I actually have one little small point to add about, because I've been doing some research myself on the reasons why, like, maybe our government would be hating on a community such as the LGBTQ plus community. And one idea I came across was interesting is that the government doesn't want people, because, it's not that LGBT people are on the rise, but more and more people are stepping out into the limelight and being their true selves, not living a life of lie. So there's slowly less traditional straight man, straight woman marriages. There's still plenty of straight people out there. Let's not mince the facts here, but the government, wants people to get married. That's why they provide incentives to get married and all this stuff, because they want you to have children, because children go to the workforce and then they make money for the government, and then the government can tax them and make more money off the people. So more people, more money.
Truly, I mean, if it's an economical race, that is that is totally definitely like a class-based reason on why trans women are oppressed. Trans people in general are oppressed. This year, every single year for the last 5 years, it's more and more violence that trans women, specifically trans women of color, particularly Black trans women, are experiencing yearly, just fatal deaths. And I think that that shows that kind of anxiety that people might have regarding the positions that they hold.
The fact that trans panic can be used as a defense against killing
it's really
somebody.
messed up. And I think it's just really important to for like people like you and like other cisgendered men to have courage, have the same amount of courage that we have. Like that's what trans people are asking our cis brothers and sisters, asking you all to have the same amounts of kind of fierceness and courage that we have, because literally our lives rest on your courage, on your openness, on your willingness to transform our kind of social relationships that we have with one another. Finally, it's in Native Heritage Month, as well as like I particularly don't celebrate what I call Thanks-taking or Thanks-taking, only because of like what it means to people like myself. But I do challenge people to have those hard conversations, and they are hard. And people are just trying to live and not be not experience that kind of harm anymore. And it's about damn time.
Yeah. In short words, just fuck off and let people be. You know, I mean, it's that simple, really, honestly, you know. But all right, yeah, good stuff. Like, wow, I definitely want to pick your brain in games. I think you have a lot more information to explode out into the universe, like what they call that star that blew up a long time ago that made the universe.
Oh, word. I don't know what this star's name is.
Yeah.
The Big Bang.
Yeah.
Got a Big Bang information out there.
But all right, good stuff. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to meet up with me. I know you're busy.
Yeah, thank you for your work. This is, you know, your work too. Like it's really, I think it's
trying.
Yeah. Like I think more people should do this. More, you know, men in your positions need to step up and do that. Have courage, y'all. Be brave.
I want to promote one more thing for you. You're doing a thing with the museum.
Oh, you know, we don't have to mention that. So I am doing a thing with the Mocha, but like, it's the museum of what is it? The Mocha Museum of Contemporary Arts.
Like, you're a big part of it, but you don't really live it.
And yeah. But yeah, you can find me the information about it on my page, and you know, but yeah, that's LA. This is typically like, you know, another LA day, you know.
Somebody was upset in the background there, I think.
Yeah, it's fine. There's a lot of challenges regarding like houselessness, which is another thing that, you know, needs a kind of like care, but that's really it. I'm just doing a museum show the next 2 days. I haven't really promoted it because the tickets sold out within 4 minutes of like box offices opening. So
oh wow, okay.
So it's not even accessible to anyone that I know. But yeah.
Right on. Well, I mean, well, that's still cool nonetheless. You're always busy on the go doing this, doing that.
I guess, yeah. Sometimes I'm not, but yeah.
Okay. But alrighty, well, again, I thank you for your time. Anyways, I'm gonna include links to her Instagram, Patreon, and whatever else she's got going on. I'm gonna include links for her down below. If y'all have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. If you have questions for her, again, links to her social medias. I'm sure she'd be more than happy to take any questions. Possible gigs, teaching gigs, whatnot. So yeah, if you've watched so far, thank y'all. I appreciate your time, and you have a good day. Peace.
Bye.